Hey, in this video, I'm going to go over how to make a quick pattern using Illustrator. And it's really easy. The first step is to create a series of shapes that you would like to include in your pattern. So if I create a circle and a square and a triangle, and I'm going to use my polygon tool and press the arrow keys to get a specific shape. And if I come here and let's change this to blue, let's change this to green. Let's change this to like a yellow. And I'm just going to bring them a little bit closer. Maybe I'll have them overlap a little bit like that. Bringing it forward. All right, cool. So say this is my pattern or the base of my pattern that I want to make. I'm going to select all the objects that I want, go to Object, and then go to Pattern and Make. And this is going to bring you to another window. And this is a temporary window that says, hey, a new pattern has been added to the Swatches panel. Any changes that are made inside this window, they will be adapted into your swatch. So I'm going to say OK. And you'll see this is added in a temporary swatch inside our Swatches panel. And that is this panel here, or if you go to Window and Swatches. Now inside this window, you've got a couple different options. And this is the pattern making window. Again, Illustrator loves to embed these functions inside other functions, so it just keeps it more, the interface a little bit more tidy. And so anytime I move these objects, the pattern is going to be reflected as to show what it would look like. And here you've got a couple different options. You can name your pattern. So I'd say test pattern. You could say the tile type. So if you wanted it to be offset a little bit, you can declare the width of the offset that you want. You can change it to hexagons. You've got a lot of control here, but I'm going to come back to grid for a minute. You'll notice you've got this square in around your shapes, and by default, you cannot select that. There's a couple ways to get around this. The first step is inside here, you can say size tile to art, and that will keep this box directly around the art. So even if I move around my shapes, it'll still be reflected. So if I take all of these and I pattern them like that, or if I select them, and maybe a better way to do this would be to select them, align them, so that way I can make sure that they are aligned. I need to make sure all of them are selected. There you go. That's kind of cool. And so if I have size tile to art, it will snap around that. And if I move these, you'll notice in that second box, it's going to move the tile with the art. If I have that unchecked and I drag these over, notice they're going to go outside that area. Control Z to undo. There's also another option inside here. What you can do is select this pattern tile tool, and that will give you control over the box itself. So you can specifically say how you want your pattern to be made. So if you wanted just a little bit of offset on that edge and maybe a little bit more there, you could do that. Something to think about is the size of your pattern as well. And I'm going to size my tile back to my art, come back here to resize it just a tiny bit so I can get it to just go like that. Cool. And so here you can go to copies, and you can see just a preview of what this looks like. These are dimmed copies around the edge. And so you can dim them based on what you like. And this is just a preview window. And what I was saying about the size of your object here, whatever size you make inside this preview window is going to be reflected inside your shape. And there's a way to get around that, but for right now, it's something just to keep in mind. When you're finished, you can go to Done. And notice it takes you out of that window, but your swatch is still here. So if I come back to any of my shapes, by default, it's going to fill with my last color I was using here. But if I go to Swatches, now it's filled with that particular object that I had, which is pretty cool. If you want to edit it, say I wanted to make red circles instead of, or red circles instead of the green ones, I can double click on the swatch and to show the swatch a little bit bigger, large, I can come to this large thumbnail view and I can see that a little bit bigger. So I'm going to double click and it brings me back to this window. I can select the circle, make it red. And if I want to create a new copy of my swatch, I can go to save a copy. Or if I just want to overwrite what I had previously, I can say done. I'm going to say done, and notice that that is now adapted inside here. Now, if you want to scale this a little bit differently, if you want to scale what is inside here, you need to go to Object, and then Transform, and then Scale. And inside here, if you uncheck Strokes and Effects and Objects and just have Transform Patterns on, and you make sure Preview is checked, I can click inside here and scroll down I'm scrolling on the mouse wheel, or you can just change the numbers, and you see you can change the scale of your pattern. And this is pretty great. So if you ever need to scale it up quickly, this is a better way to visualize that and change it more dynamically. You can also have it change non-uniformly, right? So if you wanted to stretch them out, that'd be one way to do it. Say okay, and then you're done.